Good morning, welcome back to Open Hand Farm. I put up a video with black-eyed peas and I served sourdough cornbread with it, and I had some people ask for that recipe and how to put that together. So today I'm doing a video on sourdough cornbread, and it is a fermented sourdough cornbread, so you need to give it at least 2 hours after you mix it up before you bake it. The recipe calls for 4 hours, and that's what I usually do, but I have done it for 1 hour just because I had a last minute thought to make cornbread and like, well, that's better than nothing. So it worked out fine. There's not a lot of flour in it, only half a cup, so the fermentation, maybe isn't that important to you, but I do it anyway. This is a recipe that I got from Lisa at Farmhouse on Boone, and I pretty much do it the same way she did. I have used nut milks as well as cow milk, and it always turns out the same. So let's get this put together so that you can have some cornbread today. I don't have on an apron today, but I have on a neck towel that has these handy little towels at the end of it, and you just wrap it around your neck, and I'm really thinking that's going to be great to dry my hands on and stuff today. My daughter-in-law gave this to me. We're going to start with the wet ingredients. We're going to add them in first. Our main star ingredient is the sourdough starter. As you can see, she's quite bubbly. I did feed it last night so that it would be active this morning. Now, you don't have to have this much starter. This is just what I keep my starter in, but you do need enough for 1.5 cups of starter. If you go a little bit over, it's not going to hurt anything. So we'll put that in the bowl. We need 2 large eggs, and I'm going to beat them up a little bit before I stick them in there. And we need some milk. Like I said, I have used nut milk. Today I'm using just 2% milk. So we need 1 cup of that. Now the link to this recipe will be in my description box, so you can get the whole thing there. We also need a little bit of sweetness added. So we're gonna add 1/4 cup of maple syrup. Now you could substitute all maple syrup or all honey, or you don't even have to add sugar, but it just gives it a touch of sweetness. And 1/4 cup of honey. Let's get that in there. Then, what would cornbread be without butter? You need 1/2 cup of melted butter, and I melt this and let it cool a little bit. I don't want the heat of the butter to damage my starter. We're just gonna mix all that together. Then we will put in our dry ingredients. Now in this bowl, I have 1.5 cups of just store-bought plain old cornmeal, yellow cornmeal. You could use white if you'd like. And then underneath this is 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. So I'm just gonna stir that in. Then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. Do you guys just have a little salt bowl in your kitchen that you take a pinch from when you need it? Normally I pinch it out, but I thought I would measure it for you today. We also need 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Get that all mixed in really well. Don't want to have a bite of soda or salt or anything like that. You can also add that to your dry ingredients, like the flour and stuff, and stir it together before you put it in. All right, that is done. Very simple. So now I'm just going to cover it with Saran. If you get a tight seal on this, you'll see the top of it kind of bubble up and make a dome because of the gases that are working in there with the fermentation. So when I overlap two pieces of Saran, I always kind of tap in the middle, and that brings them up and seals them together. All right, now, all we have to do is wait for 4 hours. So I used this 9x13 Pampered Chef Stone, and I really like the way it cooks on it. I also put some butter in, like a half a stick, so 1/4 of a cup. I let it melt in the hot oven, and then I pour the cornbread mixture in, and it makes a nice crust around the outside of the cornbread that I really like. And I set my stove temperature to 385, although the recipe calls for 375. I have found that with the stone, the higher temperature works perfectly. So let's get it in the oven. Okay, my pan is hot, the butter is melted, and I'm just going to pour this in here. It's kind of bubbly and thick. See how it's already starting to kind of cook on the sides because of that hot butter? It'll be so yummy. Look at the air bubbles from the fermentation. Let's get it in the oven. Okay, here it is after 25 minutes at 385. Nice and crunchy around the edges, like I like it. Okay, let's see what we got here. Oh yeah. The only thing that would make it better is some butter and honey. So make sure you do that. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope that you try this recipe, and it's especially good with those black-eyed peas that we made in the last video. So until next time, blessings on you and yours.